Well, good evening, folks. It's Joseph here again. I hope all of you are doing well. Today is April the 6th, 2026. It's about 11:35 p.m. here, Eastern Time in Canada. Yes, I just want to come on here to just share some of the things I was just asked by one of my colleagues or followers about him being Canadian and why do they feel that they're financially stretched or and stressed. So I should say. So yeah, so I just wanted to answer that question, and a lot of Canadians make good money. They really do make good money, but somehow, some way, they still feel financially burdened or stressed. And there are quite a few reasons why. And I think, if I can sum it up, I think a lot of them are really not understanding about financial literacy, right? I mean, financial literacy is not really about being rich. It's not about that. It's really about having a knowledge and understanding of your finances so that you can make financial decisions, right? Smart financial decisions. And that obviously includes budgeting, savings, investing, and the overall financial plan, right? So a lot of people don't think about this, and that's how they end up living paycheck to paycheck. So in this episode, it's actually financial literacy episode 18 that I'm in now. So for those of you, welcome. My name is Joseph. I'm from Hamilton, Canada. Um, I am a proud husband, with two young adults who are on their way in their careers. At the same time, I'm a retired IT professional from the banking industry, and I am a financial coach as well. So I'm self-taught on financial planning, retirement planning. At the same time, I'm a very active stock market and real estate investor. Most recently, of course, I would say 2 years ago now, over 2 years, I am a proud digital business owner, which I've started, 2 years ago. So in this episode, I want to talk about why so many Canadians feeling stuck financially, and why there's some simple habits, the simple habits that they can have and change their financial future. I want to just touch on that for a bit, and understanding about money and how it can reduce stress and build self-confidence, right? Lastly is about, sharing practical steps that you can start today, and really no experience needed here. It's really just sharing some of my knowledge and foundation that I started a while back, right? So the first thing I want to talk about is, financial literacy is not about being rich. A lot of people get I don't know, get scared, or they try to avoid financial literacy, and it's really a very, very simple framework and foundation that everybody needs to start off with. I mean, by the way, financial literacy is never taught in school, and that could be the reason why as well. So far, there has been no curriculum in terms of financial literacy, whether it's in elementary or high school or college or university. So I wish they can come up with something of this type of topic or even subject, so that a lot of people can learn from it right from elementary, right? So yeah, so financial literacy it's not about being rich. It's about being smart with your money, with your investments, and with your savings, right? It really means that understanding about your how your money works, really how you save, how you budget, how you invest. That's really all what it's about. You don't need to be an expert. You just have to be informed. A lot of things that I have learned is the fact that I could just have my income and then minus my expenses, and then whatever savings I have, I just put it on investments, right? So it's really that simple, to be honest with you. But financial literacy helps you make better decisions on a daily basis. And you can make smart decisions by having knowledge and experience in financial literacy, right? And lastly is, gives you peace of mind, gives you the confidence that, you can afford, or you can save, or you don't have to spend this much money, right? So financial literacy is very, very important aspect in our daily lives, especially with, the rising cost of living and inflation and stuff like that. It really becomes a huge factor when it comes to your financial planning and retirement planning as well. Okay. So the second thing I want to talk about was, so why many Canadians feel financially strapped or stressed about their situation. Again, I mentioned about the rising cost of living, right? The groceries, the gas, housing. In Canada, the prices are so high. And as a matter of fact, it has gone up quite a lot for the past 10 years. And I think somebody had mentioned that it's gone up about 200% or something like that. That's crazy for 10 years, right? And imagine if you didn't have any savings or investment, how are you going to keep up with the rising cost of houses and gas and groceries, right? So again, financial literacy is so, so important now these days, especially for countries uh, that have a high cost of living, and that's Europe, right? And that's Canada, that's United States. A lot of these countries, rich countries, really are having issues with some of their residents because of the cost of living. In Canada, the taxes are so high. Before we were in the top 20, but now I think we're in the top 5 in terms of cost of living. And that's not good. That's not a good situation. As a matter of fact, the government is in trillions of deficit, which is bad news. Bad news for everyone. Any Canadian resident living in Canada. So the other thing is high level of debt and low saving rates, right? So a lot of people are now feeling the pinch where a lot of them are using their credit cards. A lot of them are using their loans, dipping into their savings and increasing their loans, which is not a good position to be in. And I also mentioned about lacking of education in terms of when they were growing up. Financial literacy, was never taught in school, and that's a big factor as well. And that's why it's so important that people now, especially the baby boomers, even really need to learn about financial literacy, and it really is something that could save you a lot in the future. And lastly, I would say, not having a clear financial plan. So without financial literacy and without financial planning, you're going to be living paycheck to paycheck, and you don't know where your money's going. And that's why it's so important to really start budgeting and understanding your financial situation, right? So the third thing I want to talk about is, building some small habits that can change your financial future, right? So, and I mentioned earlier that creating a simple budget helps, right? You just list all of your expenses and you list all your income, whatever income streams you have. Then, whatever's the difference is obviously your net income, or I hope it's net income, not more of net expenses, right? So, now I know a lot of Canadians have, 2 jobs, 3 jobs. And, if you really think about it, the way taxation works in Canada, the higher salary or the higher wages you have, the more taxes you pay. So you really got to think smart about this. The salary and wages in Canada is 100% tax, whereby if you are to start a business on your own, you don't fall in that category. The business tax is a totally different calculation altogether, and it would probably range between 28% to 32% taxation. Excuse me, whereby excuse me, in Canada, your salary or your wage, 100% of it is taxed, right? It's taxable. So you really got to think smart in terms of how you want to create your income streams. I mean, sure, you can have a full-time job, or you have some wages. Maybe that's one aspect, but the other income stream, maybe it's just starting a digital business, or a business itself, so that you can start having to create a plan B that will replace your plan A eventually, right? So the last thing I want to talk about is really about knowledge in terms of reducing your stress and building more confidence, right? When you understand money, your money, right? When you understand your money, you feel more in control. You feel more of, you can make smarter decisions and not be pressured about, should you do this, should you do that, or should you buy this, should you buy that, or, expense this or expense that. You can get in a lot of trouble when you don't know where your money's going to, right? So that's why it's very important to have that budget, because that budget will tell you where you're spending the most of your money, right? And where you can cut down on some of the expenses, right? You can also make, decisions based on facts rather than fear, or rather than emotional behavior, right? This is one thing that I've always shared with others, and this is on another topic when it comes to investing. I've always mentioned in my podcast that whenever you're investing, make sure the decision is based on financial numbers, not emotions, right? You don't want to follow the stock market where it's very, very volatile because of its behavior in the economy, or in some way or form of a company, right? You don't want to use your emotions when it comes to investing. It doesn't matter what kind of investing it is, whether it's real estate, whether it's stock market, whether it's crypto, whatever. You do not base your decision on emotions. It's all about numbers. It's all about numbers. Okay. So, and the thing that you also want to stay away from when you're very, very knowledgeable in the financial literacy space is you avoid common mistakes like debt traps, right? Debt traps or scams. When you are knowledgeable in this space, you will know how to avoid them, right? You will know how to avoid them. And then lastly, I can say is that you can plan for your future goals like retirement, right? So one of the things that I also shared with my other podcast was the fact that when you create a financial plan or a budget, when you create a budget, it doesn't really stop there. Hello, Ate Ying. Thank you so much for watching. I can't believe you're still awake. I know it's 11:41 or 11:48 now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow on our Zoom meeting for taxation talk, part 2 in Canada. So yeah, Ate Ying and I will be hosting a session with our fellow business partners on taxation for Canadians. So anyway, going back to my thoughts about financial literacy, I will say that a lot of people can use the budget as part of their starting point, because when you start a budget, it becomes your financial plan, which is the next step. It's really about your financial planning, and then that financial plan can then become your retirement plan. So in a project management world, we call it progressive elaboration, right? Progressive elaboration, where you take one output, right? And you take that output and you place it into another input, and then that input turns into output, and that output turns into another input. So that's what I mean about this financial literacy, where it starts from budgeting, and that budget now becomes your financial plan, and that financial plan now becomes your retirement plan, right? And with the help of the will, it now becomes that retirement plan now becomes your estate planning, right? With the will, right? So it's a progressive elaboration of what's happening in your life and for your future, right? So it's very, very important. It's not going to go to waste when you start a budget because it will be a living, you can say, a living artifact, a living artifact that you can use towards the different stages of your life, all the way to estate planning, right? So it's so important to have this exercise done, and that's how I started actually. I would, it took me about 8 years to really study this very, very hard. And when I say 8 years, I studied not only the budgeting, the financial literacy, the financial planning, retirement planning, and estate planning. I actually studied a lot more, like real estate investing and stock market investing as well, right? Because that's part of the financial planning, retirement planning, right? So it's all part, and taxation, of course, right? So I do encourage all of you, especially Canadians. I will say that we all feel that pinch. We all feel that burden, that financial burden that's happening to us because of the again, the high cost of living that we are currently in. And it's not easy, unfortunately. If there was a crystal ball, we could all try to wish for that. And unfortunately, we're in it, and we're actually paying the price because of what's happened in the last, I would say, last 12 years. In the last 12 years, it's been very, very difficult. A lot of things that has happened to Canada, it was not in our favor. All of us citizens, or all of us residents in Canada, we are actually now feeling it. And the thing is that if you really look at the future, the futuristic outlook of Canada, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It's going to take maybe another 10, 15 years for it to recover, because we are in trillions of dollars deficit. And it's going to be a huge problem. And it all because of the fact that, I would say that the country was really mismanaged. I mean, if you take my advice, to me, a good president or a good prime minister would be someone that could manage and run the country as a business, right? That's what we need. That's what we need, is having our prime minister to run this country like a business, and that's that way it can support and sustain our you can say our finances and our resources for the country of Canada, right? So, but yeah, no, I mean, it's very unfortunate that we are in this predicament, but at the same time, we have to do something about it. We can't just sit back and not do anything, because if we do, it's like inflation, right? If you put your money underneath your mattress and inflation hits, the money that you put underneath your mattress is less valuable, right? Because of inflation. So the same thing goes with financial literacy, right? We have to act. We have to do something about it, and for ourselves. And we need to help ourselves to get to be resilient and to overcome our financial burden that we have been placed in, right? So yeah, no, I wish I was able to educate you in some of these things. By all means, if there are any questions that you may have, please comment below. I want to thank you guys for continuing to watch my podcast. And if you want if you want me to come up with other topic about financial literacy, and I mean that again includes budgeting, that includes financial planning, that includes investing, retirement planning, and I do know a bit of estate planning, especially here in Canada, Ontario province. I do know about some of that. Not an expert. Oh, by all means, but before I forget, I just want to put a disclaimer out there. I am a financial coach. I don't have, I don't intend to sell you anything. But by all means, I suggest that anything that you learn from my content, please seek financial or professional advice, financial advisors or accountant and stuff. What I'm telling you here and what my content is about is creating awareness and sharing my knowledge and giving you some education and inspiration as to how you can learn more about financial literacy. And my goal is for you to have that information so that you can have a more meaningful conversation with your professional advisors. Okay, because I have experienced in many years and many times that not all professionals have the answer. Not all of them have the answer. Not all of them know your current situation or your goals or your expectation and intention for for yourself and for your family, right? There are a lot of factors that it has to be considered, and only you will know. And this is why it's so important to learn about financial literacy. Only you will know the full detail or the nitty gritty detail as to what's happening in your situation, whether it's for you and for your family, right? Because professionals neglect certain things, and some of them are major and some of them are minor factors that they have to consider, right? So you are the only one that holds that information, and you're the only. I mean, you can communicate with them, but they're not always 100% accurate in terms of their solutions or suggestions. That's why it's important that we all have to learn and we all have to be accountable, because we want to make sure that we are in a way successful in everything that we decide on and what we do. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share with you, and I hope like I said, you learned something from this content. By all means, if there are any questions, like I said, just comment them below, and I will come on here again to create other contents that would give you more information that are interesting to you. Yeah, so that's all really I wanted to say. It's about 23 minutes now. I didn't want to take too much of your time, and I want to thank you for again watching this live or watching this on a replay. Until my next episode, God bless. Bye for now.